Bonjour, je m'appelle Bridget, and I'm going to share with you a little information that I learned about France's education system. Then I will compare the French education system and the U.S. education system. There are some interesting similarities as well as differences between the two. France is located in Western Europe and is bordered by the Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea. Its largest neighbors are Germany, Italy, and Spain. Across the English Channel, and linked by the Channel Tunnel, is the United Kingdom. Besides the mainland, France has a number of territories overseas, which together with Corsica make up the 26 regions which the country comprises. It is further divided into 100 departments, 5 of which are geographically distant from Europe. Now we will take a brief look into the country's history, including major events that impacted education. France's education system has a long and distinguished history. Throughout the Middle Ages and the Enlightenment period, French education emphasized culture through humanities and literature. Until the French Revolution in 1789, education was only accessible by the elite. More than 50% of males and 75% of females were illiterate. The French Revolution ended monarchy rule and helped establish laws regarding the people's right to education. The establishment of the First Empire allowed for great changes in French education. Napoleon allowed girls to attend primary schools controlled by the church and turned his attention to secondary and higher education institutions as ways to train future military personnel. The lycées were all boys' schools which operated under military-like discipline and taught French, Latin, ancient Greece, and science. After Napoleon's defeat at Waterloo, the primary and secondary schools were returned to the Catholic Church's control. Under King Louis Philippe, known as the Citizens' King, laws were created which required the establishment of public primary schools and teacher pay. It also required the establishment of normal schools to prepare primary school teachers. During this time, the number of public and private schools increased and enrollments rose. 72 normal schools were established. With these advancements, France's literacy rate increased from 50 to 67% among males. During the Second Empire, Louis Napoleon, the first emperor's nephew, pursued a more liberal education policy and allowed free primary education for the poor and the establishment of public primary schools for girls. The period of the Third Republic saw many changes in France's education system. Primary school fees were abolished, and attendance became compulsory for children between the ages of 6 and 13. Clear lines were drawn between church and state, and many Catholic schools were closed. After World War II, country officials looked to the education system for help. A vast amount of knowledge was needed to rebuild the country, and the education system began to center its efforts on technology. The education agenda focused on equality, the post-war economy, and greater attention to individual needs and development. During the 1960s and 70s, a more unified education system was put in place, ending the formerly more compartmentalized system, which was based on a clear separation between primary and secondary education. Today, more than 15 million students are in the French education system, including nearly 2 million in higher education. In the past, France's education system was primarily for members of the elite society. In an effort to overcome inequalities, the country redesigned the system to create a cultural identity. Children in every region now receive the same curriculum and instruction. The Ministry of Youth, National Education and Research, also known as the National Education Ministry, is responsible for the administration of primary, secondary, and technological education. Its responsibilities include establishing and implementing policies and curriculum, teacher training, and setting teacher salaries. Children ages 6 to 11 attend primary school. Similar to the U.S. elementary school grade levels, primary schools are divided into 5 levels by age groups. The primary curriculum is focused on 3 clusters: French language, history, geography, and civics, mathematics, science, and technology, and physical education, art, and music. The goals for the primary schools, set by the National Education Ministry, are: Number 1, to improve children's language skills for knowledge acquisition. 2, to establish special programs for children whose native language is not French. And 3, to encourage parents and local authorities to promote reading, particularly in public libraries. Secondary education takes place in 3 types of school settings: the college, the lycée, and the lycée professionnel. The college is a 4-year comprehensive school divided into two 2-year stages, observation and orientation. The observation stage provides a common core curriculum. The orientation stage is designed to orient students to future academic work. This includes the same common core curriculum as the previous stage, with additional mathematics. Students are also required to take additional coursework in foreign language or classical language and technology. Students may continue to the lycée or apply for an examination to receive a diploma. The lycée is the general and technical secondary school, which prepares students for the baccalaureate exam, which allows them to enter a university or vocational training. Students are placed in educational programs to fit career placement based on their academic abilities. Unlike American schools, France's secondary schools are designed with the students' future careers in mind. To complete secondary education, students must take extensive exit exams. The lycée professionnel is a vocational school specialized to lead to various certificates and diplomas or university admission. The requirements to be a teacher in France differ depending on what level of student you want to teach. Primary teachers must possess the secondary school baccalaureate and have passed a competitive examination in order to be admitted to the primary teachers training school. Once they have completed a year of teaching, they are awarded a full elementary certification. Secondary teachers follow a more complex 3-year program. Students who wish to teach the lower grades, 6 through 9, receive 2 years of instruction at a normal school, then an additional year at the regional center. Once complete, they receive a permit which allows them to teach lower secondary education. Students who wish to become upper secondary teachers, grades 10 through 12, receive 3 years of university study and an additional year preparing for the examination, which leads to receiving the CAPES or CAPIT, the certification needed to teach upper secondary schools. Now I will discuss a few similarities and differences between the French education system and the United States education system. Both countries are democratic societies that are technologically advanced. Originally, the systems were formed and controlled by the church, but now both countries have laws which separate church and state. School attendance is compulsory and available to the public at no cost. Although the requirements differ, educators in both countries must possess an undergraduate degree and be certified to teach. And finally, although France is not as diverse as the United States, both face multicultural and multiracial issues. There are also vast differences between the countries. In France, funding is provided by the national government, whereas the state and local governments are responsible for providing funding to the U.S. schools. In the U.S., individual states, local governments, and school boards are responsible for the operations of local schools, including budgets, salaries, curriculum, assessments, and policies. In France, the National Education Ministry is responsible for the operation of French schools, leaving very little control to local governments and school board members. Secondary education in France is very different from U.S. schools. Students are placed in vocational tracks, depending on their academic abilities. The French system heavily emphasizes future career paths, whereas students in the U.S. can pick from a wide assortment of electives. In the U.S., teacher evaluations are conducted by principals and district administrators. In France, the principals have no direct responsibility for evaluation tasks. Teacher evaluations are performed by external inspectors and are crucial for a teacher's advancement. Another major difference between the French and U.S. is how society views educators. Educators in France are highly valued and respected. Unfortunately, educators in the U.S. are highly scrutinized, blamed for inefficiencies, and not well respected. I hope you have enjoyed this presentation and now have a better understanding of the French education system. Thank you for your time.